Welcome to The Explainer. For a lot of us, the climate crisis can feel like this far-off problem. But in India, it's not a forecast. It's the daily reality. It's the flooded streets you see on the news. It's the sun-scorched fields. So today, we're going to dig into the sheer scale of this challenge. But more importantly, we're going to look at a potential path forward, a way to get from this constant crisis to real, lasting resilience. Okay, let's just jump right in with a number that kind of puts this whole thing into perspective. $79.5 billion. That's the estimated economic hit from climate disasters in India. And that's just over 2 decades. And look, this isn't some abstract environmental cost. We're talking about a direct blow to the economy, to infrastructure, and to the livelihoods of people all across the country. And if that economic cost is staggering, the human cost is, well, it's almost unbelievable. Right now, as we speak, 600 million people in India are facing high to extreme water stress. Let that sink in. That is almost double the entire population of the United States. This isn't some future problem we need to plan for. No, this is a full-blown emergency happening right now. All right, so what does this crisis actually look like on the ground? It's not just one thing. It's more like a cascade of problems, each one feeding into the next and making the whole situation even worse. What's really wild is that India is fighting a battle of extremes, often in the very same places. On one hand, you have these long, blistering heat waves, and on the other, sudden, catastrophic floods. I mean, can you imagine the whiplash? One season, it's a crippling drought, and the next, you're hit with devastating flash floods. Kind of like the ones we've seen in the mountains of Uttarakhand. And the heat? It's just getting more and more intense. And get this, by 2030, which is right around the corner, major cities, we're talking Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, are projected to see the number of heatwave Ds double. Just think about that. The kind of strain that puts on power grids, on water supplies, and of course, on the health of millions and millions of people. I mean, this is a classic domino effect. It's all connected. You've got rising seas threatening to literally swallow parts of huge coastal cities like Mumbai. At the exact same time, those rising seas are wiping out the Sundarbans mangroves, the very natural shield that protects the coast from storms in the first place. And while all that's happening, heat-related deaths are on the rise, and staple food crops like rice and maize, their yields are projected to plummet. This is a direct threat to the country's food security. See how it all just compounds? So this all leads to a really big question, right? If the dangers are so incredibly clear, why does it feel like effective action is, stalling? The answer, it seems, lies in this huge gap between what's said and what's done. And this is where you see a massive contradiction. On one hand, you have India setting some of the most ambitious renewable energy goals on the entire planet, which is great. But then, on the other hand, you have active plans to add 80 gigawatts of new coal power by 2032. That's the policy action gap in a nutshell right there. You're saying one thing, but your plans point to something completely different. And, this kind of gap between words and action, it can lead to what we call greenwashing. That's where it looks like there's climate action, but the reality is, a lot less green. For example, afforestation is a big goal, right? Planting trees. But a lot of the reported growth in tree cover is actually on commercial plantations or in orchards, not in restoring natural forests. So it makes you wonder about the real ecological benefit. The thing is, the roadblocks here are systemic. They're built into the system. We're talking about weak implementation, that classic tug of war between development and the environment, and of course, the fact that so many of the world's most polluted cities are in India. But honestly, the biggest hurdle might just be money. India needs over $1 trillion for climate adaptation by 2030. $1 trillion. The current spending, it's just a tiny, tiny fraction of that. Okay, but this isn't all doom and gloom. This isn't just a story about a crisis. It's also about solutions. So now let's pivot and look at a proposed roadmap for building resilience. And this is key. It's about shifting from just reacting to disasters to proactively preparing for a very different future. So the proposed strategy really rests on 4 main pillars. It's a whole package. First, you use modern tech like AI and GIS to map risks on a super local level, know exactly where the vulnerabilities are. Second, you redesign cities and infrastructure using nature itself. Think more green spaces, not just concrete. Third, you transition to climate-friendly farming, things like millet cultivation and agroforestry. And finally, the big one. You have to mobilize the investment and train the green workforce to actually make all of this happen. So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, it means empowering villages to manage their own local water supplies. It means building decentralized, community-managed renewable energy grids, so power is local and resilient. It means actively restoring those natural shields, like the coastal mangroves we talked about. And, I love this part, it means combining high-tech digital forecasting with traditional indigenous knowledge to create warning systems that actually work for the people on the ground. Okay, so when you put all these solutions together, they point toward this big overarching vision, creating what the source material calls a climate-smart India. But what does that really mean? Is it just a buzzword? No, it's about reframing the entire conversation. It's not just saving the environment over here while development happens over there. It's a strategic imperative. The core idea is simple. You cannot have sustainable and equitable development that lasts and is fair for everyone, if you don't tackle climate change head on. The two are completely 100% intertwined. So here's the bottom line. The crisis is immense. There's no denying it. But it's not unsolvable. The fascinating thing is, a clear roadmap to resilience actually exists. The plans are there. So the question really isn't what to do anymore. The question is, will it be done? And for India, that choice between sticking with business as usual or truly forging a new resilient path is the one that will define its entire future.